Good morning. I am Steve Weber, the host of the American Gumption Morning Show, broadcasting here on Spirituality Gone Wild. And I also broadcast on the American Gumption Facebook page and also on the American Gumption YouTube channel. So we go live typically 5 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week, but we typically go live Monday through Friday on at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. on the West Coast, 7 to 8 on the West Coast, 10 to 11 on the East Coast. And I mentioned the West Coast because our guest today is coming from the West Coast. Joan of Angels, Dr. Dr. Joan Hangarter, but I just call her Joan of Angels, and she is going to be our guest, and she is one of the brand new hosts here on Spirituality Gone Wild, but she comes with lots of years of experience and professional work for almost 4 decades. So anyway, excited to welcome Joan this morning. That'll be coming up right after my monologue, and my monologue this morning is being an artist. So I'm going to talk about how I became an artist in my own mind, at least, and kind of that transformation that took place for me. And then let me just tell you about what's happening next week. So Monday, I mentioned that I typically do this show 5 days a week, but I frequently take 1 or 2 Mondays off a month. And so next Monday, I will take the day off from broadcasting, and that'll allow me an extra day to do some of the projects, some of the things that I'm working on behind the scenes. And so that just gives me a little bit of a break. And then I'll go live Tuesday through Friday next week. And I have a couple guests scheduled, and I'll just bring you up to date on those a little bit later on. All righty. So anyway, let's see, I'm just looking over my notes. I think we can just go ahead and launch right into the monologue. And let's see who we got, a comment or two here. We have Bettina, of course, checking in from the West Coast. Thank you, Bettina. You're also up early this morning. And our very own Saf Buxy from England, across the pond, our dear friend and another host joins us today. So we're going to let you, Saf, we're going to let you get to know Joan during this broadcast. All righty. Very good. All right. So I want to go ahead and just share my monologue, which is basically this morning going to just basically be being an artist. What does that mean? And when we use the term artist, there's 2 other words I want to throw out there, creative or creator. And so an artist isn't necessarily, an artist can be a creative person. An artist is a creative person, or an artist can be a creator. And we're all creators of one form or another. Now, historically, when I learned what an artist was, and it was defined, it was somebody who took like a paintbrush or a hammer and a chisel to a block of marble, and they chiseled out something. So they were like a sculptor or they were a painter. And so that was my first definition that I came to understand as an art. We had art class where we had to get out, pencils and paper and crayons and, draw. And I wasn't necessarily the best drawer. I never had any artistic ability drawing wise. And so anyway, I kind of ended up deciding early on that I wasn't an artist. And now, who else are artists? Musicians. Clearly, we think of Beethoven and Mozart or the Beatles, and we think of, these people were artists. I mean, they were creating. They produced things that, in Beethoven and Mozart's world, they produced music that's lasted for hundreds of years. And the Beatles' music is, 50 plus years at this point and going strong. It's something that holds up. And then writers, Shakespeare, Dickens, Jane Austen, Thoreau, these people all were artists. And yet they were expressing themselves through the written word. Same thing with poets. Walt Whitman, he was an artist. Actors, people who get up on stage, Charlie Chaplin, Betty Davis, the earliest of, people we think of from the thing. Tom Hanks, he was an actor, or he is an actor, and he's an artist at the same time. So my idea that I was an artist drawing, that never resonated with me. And so I ended up going, you know what? I'm not an artist. An artist is somebody who draws a beautiful picture or sculpt something. That was what an artist meant to me. Now, as a child, I did learn to play the saxophone and bassoon and clarinet and flute. I played the woodwinds, and yet there was like that musical ability, and there was certain artistic creative spirit in that. And I felt that, at times, but I also, it kind of was a phase. It was like a 5 or 8 year period where I played, took lessons, and that was all fun and dandy, but it never, really never kind of went anywhere beyond, those couple of years. And there was moments where there was an artistic flair to it, but not enough to kind of awaken my mind to that artistic idea. Now, in my late teens, I was working with my father in the metal trade, but as a hobby at night, I ended up taking woodworking classes. And I really did take a love to that. And I ended up creating several pieces of furniture, and I've talked about and shared them here. But for a 5-year period there, I was actually doing quite a bit of woodworking, and there was a real flair or artistic ability to that whole thing. And I kind of made the connection mentally to, this isn't just like cutting out wood, and there has to be some artistic creative value, to it. So, and then one other story, in 1980, the summer of 1980, I took a 3-month trip, and I had planned this for a couple of years. And I took a van and I, remodeled it. It was just an empty cargo van, Dodge van. And I, put benches in it and, made cabinets. And my idea was I was going to travel around the country. And I did that. And myself and a cousin and another friend, we traveled around for 3 months. We went to all the national parks, and we went in the back country. And so that was an adventure. And there was a certain artistic creative part of doing that. I was an adventurer is what I really was. And that was a heck of a lot of fun. So those, like playing an instrument, to doing the woodworking, taking that adventurous trip, those were all artistic endeavors that I did, but I still never really thought of myself as an artist. And I didn't even really think of myself as that creative. I just kind of thought of myself as workmanlike, and I did these things. And so anyway, even when I became Forrest Gump at the age of 37, 1996, for those first couple of years, I was very workmanlike in the way I went about, interacting with people and doing it. And there was a lot of creativity and artistic things going on, but in my mind, I still hadn't completely thought of myself as an artist. Now, there was a trip with the Bubba Gump restaurant to Charleston, South Carolina, and it was maybe, I don't know, like a month or so ahead of when the opening was going to be. And I ended up just flying out there, and I met the director of marketing for the restaurant there. And we spent like 2 or 3 days, and we went to different places, and we were doing like kind of a pre-planning trip, setting the stage for the fact that we were going to come back in a month and do these things. And so we went on a call. We went in and met some people. And when we came out, I remember Kathy said to me, "You're one of the most creative people I've ever met." And I was kind of blown away, because I never thought of myself as a creative or as a creator. I always thought of myself as workmanlike, like kind of doing tasks, taking care, building things, following instructions, but not necessarily making things up myself that I thought an artistic person would be. And that, when she said that, something happened, like it was like a switch that went off. And I was like, oh my gosh, what I'm actually doing is highly creative. And, I was, in the meantime, I'm sitting on the bench talking to 1,000 people a day, having interactions as Forrest Gump. I'm basically being an actor, but I'm doing an interpretation of the character. Tom Hanks did the original interpretation of the character, and that was immortalized on film for forever and ever. But here I was, kind of a living, breathing person, recreating the character in real life for 1,000 people a day coming by in Monterey on Cannery Row, or in San Francisco on Pier 39. And here I am interacting with these people and going through this whole thing. And I had invented essentially a whole act around that activity. So when Kathy Peterson, the director of marketing, said to me, "Man, you're one of the most creative people I ever met," I was like, initially I thought, "Oh, that's a nice thing for you to say," and I'm like, "Oh, but that's not me." But then like I said, a switch went off, and I went, "Oh my gosh, I am really actually very creative." And so what happened after that is my performing almost immediately shifted from being like workmanlike to being like connecting with spirit, connecting with the higher power and the universe, and doing it as a creative person. And what happened, I think, as I look back on it, is like it got a whole lot better, because now I was just being relaxed and being in the moment and really being free, and bringing in a divine energy, I was allowing that energy to really, come in and do it. Whereas I had been performing it, from up inside of the head the whole time. And nothing wrong with, being aware and using your brain, actually that's a good thing. But I hadn't allowed the energy from the universe to come in and infiltrate me as I did it. And so suddenly I almost like went into like a kind of a trance, and I was being guided as I went and did the work. So I also started thinking about, well, what's going to happen when this is all done? Because I knew that, I had already been doing it, let's say, at this point, I'm doing it now 5, 6, 7 years. And I'm like, okay, this is a wonderful gig, but it's gonna, it's not going to last forever. And so what do I do, next? And I still had that workman-like concept in my head. So I had to, so I had a bunch of ideas. I ended up moving to Montana, and they were all basically workman-like activities I intended to do. But when I got there, I realized that I didn't really want to do any of those things. I wanted to be more of that creative person. And so even though all the planning that took me to Montana was like kind of a thinking workman-like activity, I didn't really want to do any of those things. And so when I got there, I kind of shifted my attention to being a creative, and I started writing. And I thought, I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to, take that message from the movie Forrest Gump, and I'm going to somehow bring it out to the world and share it with people. And I knew, because people loved it, that it was what I was supposed to be doing. I was actually at that point listening to my heart and being tuned into to spirit, to the universe, to the quantum field. And I was feeling, that like that call or that energy that said, this is what you have to go do next. And, people want to hear it. People love it. And only I can uniquely, bring it to the people because of my experiences. So I understood all this, but I was still like kind of stuck in trying to think about, well, how do I do it, and go about doing that. So anyway, I started writing, and those first couple of years, 2009, 10, 11, 12, I wrote a lot. I did a lot of writing, 500 blog posts, and that was my first form of communicating. And I remember I came across a quote by William Faulkner, and it said, "I never know what I think about something until what I've written on it. I never know what I think about something until I read what I've written on it." And that really perfectly described what I was doing at that time. I was writing, and I was defining what I believed. And I was looking at all the beliefs that I had up until that point, and I was like examining them and saying, do I really believe? Well, this is what I believe. And then I go, well, do I really believe that? Or do I really want to continue to believe that? And if the answer was no, which it frequently was, I go, well, what do I believe? And so then I ended up writing. And then as I wrote, or as I would read what I wrote about it, I'd go, oh my gosh, like that's exactly what I believe. Or I'd read it and I go, oh no, that's not quite, and I'd edit it and I'd come up with it. And so then I ended up defining through the written word, what my beliefs were. And I got rid of a lot of the beliefs that I had been carrying with me for 50 years, those programmed messages that we all pick up when we're children, from age 2 to 7, when our brains are just in the theta state and we're just a sponge taking everything in. And and parents and schools and churches and relatives and all these influences come in, TV, and they program us as little kids, and then this is what we end up believing. So I ended up going back and looking at a lot of those things and essentially getting rid of some of them, and that's still a work in progress. I'm still a work in progress that way, doing all that. So that's really it. That's all I wanted to talk about. And the last thing I'll just say is that the idea of the moose. The moose from a writer's point of view, it's like the inspiration that comes in. Well, that's source energy. That's the creator. That's the universe. That's the quantum field. Historically, we call that God. But so all those influences came in, or they were coming in, and they were affecting me. And so really, this whole journey of life is about allowing source energy to come and enter us and go about it. So anybody who's an artist, whether you're a musician or writer, you're someone who works with a paint and brush and canvas, or whether you chisel something out of marble, if you're an artist, you are allowing divine source energy to come into you and influence you. And when I sat on the bench and worked as Forrest Gump for those last, after those first couple of years, that was really more of a head. I was actually allowing the source into it. I just didn't know it and understand it at the time. But then once I started to allow it even more, it became better and enhanced. So that's the story on being an artist. I hope that's beneficial for you. It's always good for me to share some of these things. So with that, I want to welcome our guest, Dr. Joan Hangarter, or mostly just known as Joan of Angels.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Welcome. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm absolutely wonderful. I loved your story on creativity, by the way, because at the age of about 8, I was told that I had not one creative bone in my body and that I should be an accountant, a bookkeeper. Well, I don't know if I have one math bone in my body in the end, but I just loved your story. And it reminded me of like turning up your switch, turning up your power.
Yeah.
You become freed as a creative. Me too.
Yeah, good. So now I'm going to let you be free as a creative for the rest of the show, except I have 2 things I have to do when we first welcome you on. So if you'll just indulge me, I want to read a little bio and introduce who you are. And then we have a song that we play for first-time guests whenever they come to the American Gumption song. And I want to play the song. And now, if you come back, which I hope you will again in the future, because I think we have a lot to talk about, you're not going to hear this song ever again a second time, because it's just for first-time guests. So is that a plan? Can you go with that?
No, I don't know. You are so creative. I love it. Yes, I want to hear this song. Okay.
All right. Okay, but first I'll read the bio and then I'll play the song.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Okay, good. All right. So who is Dr. Joan Hangarter? Dr. Joan Hangarter, DC, is known by many as Joan of Angels for the visionary art and the messages from spirit that come through her work. Joan has been assisting people from all corners of the world for almost 40 years, inspiring, healing, and uplifting thousands as a doctor and a counselor. Her background as a chiropractor, along with a master's degree in counseling, has given Joan the skills to effectively heal and counsel those willing and ready to make a change for the better. I love that line, those willing and able to, make a change for the better, because it's really all about the individual and the person. And all we are is guides. We can just sort of, we just lead them to water. All right, so Joan's life transformed on October 31st, 2013, when she began hearing messages to paint 33 angels in 30 days. You were busy there in that little that month. This launched her work as an artist and as a channel for these divine beings to assist humanity. So the divine beings that you were painting are not only something that's immortalized on canvas, but they're assisting others. So very good. Good for you. Joan then created the Desert Heart Sanctuary, where she paints, channels messages, offers guidance, and shares the high vibrational work with the world. I love that, vibrational work. That's what it's all about. She feels great joy as the energy of divine beings moves through her, and Joan invites you to reach out directly to her if you need more clarity or wish to receive the paintings and the channeling. And that's a perfect reminder to put your banner up. There it is, Joan of Angels. That's how people can get in touch with Joan, joanofangels.com. So we'll talk more about that and the work you're doing. Joan of Angels recently joined the team of co-creators at Spirituality Gone Wild and has her own show on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time and 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Joan Hangarter, or Joan of Angels, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Thank you for joining us.
Oh my God, Steve, this is so great. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about being talkative at 7 a.m. in California, but you are just like infectious. That's what I want to tell you. You're just, wow. So
let's play that song, and then we're going to let you be as creative as you want. How's that sound?
I love it. All right.
Alrighty. Joan, have you ever had a marching band welcome you onto a show before?
No, it's been one of my fantasies, Steve. So you just made it happen.
All righty. Well, good. And look at this already. We have Margaret Easley checking in and says Joan is an amazing angel and a beautiful friend. So thank you, Margaret, for sharing that message for your friend. So Joan of Angels, welcome to the show. Let's just jump in and have some fun with this. Tell us about what happened on October 31st, 2013. What was that experience? Tell us what happened.
So first of all, I'm a creative, everyone, just like Steve, and I'm a late bloomer creative. I didn't actually know I was a creative because all my life I had been told I wasn't. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, to be a bookkeeper. So for me, actually, being a Pisces, being a bookkeeper, you may not want to trust your books to me, but nevertheless, I kind of believed them. But I've had a very, very interesting history. I'm a chiropractor, and I had a very, very successful practice in Berkeley for many, many years. And I was injured, and I ended up losing my practice. And that forced me to sort of shift gears in my life. So I started to pay more attention to the intuitive side of me. And so my kids and I had lost everything. And we came together and we formed a group to rescue ourselves. We called ourselves the Miracle Makers Club. And so we started to visualize what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go. My kids wanted a house with a basketball court and a swimming pool. And so we started to form, as I said, this group. We called ourselves Miracle Makers Club because we knew we needed miracles, right? And we knew that the power of our mind could actually shift us into that. So that's actually how I started to shift into this other aspect of myself. So on Halloween 2013, I had kind of gone through another stage in my life. I had moved back to the United States, and I just was not sure which direction, like how am I going to continue as an intuitive and an oracle and bring messages to people. And it's Halloween night, and I didn't want to go anywhere. I had art supplies. I asked everyone if they wanted to paint. They did. And I started to hear this voice that said, well, paint angels. And I said, oh, I can't paint eyes. I can't do eyes. And I heard the voice again. It was like before I knew it, I was being told to paint 33 angels in 30 days. And it was like the earth stood still and I was given a choice. All right. And the choice was I could continue the way I'm going, which just didn't feel so good at that time, or I could listen to this voice and trust that this voice was going to guide me to my next steps. And so that's that faith, confidence, and belief. And that's that, okay. And so sure enough, I painted 33 angels in 30 days and hung them up in the penthouse I was living in, hung them up upstairs. And I called it the Angel Loft. And a book falls off the bookshelf. What's the book? Falls open to this page and it says, your cry or your call for angelic assistance has been heard. Now, you cannot get more mystical than this, okay? So that began quite a journey because then I heard the next message. Now, when Spirit talks to you, they don't always give you the whole picture. I think if they had told me back then I'd be Joan of Angels and, this live in the desert, I might have run the other way. But Spirit takes you by the hand gently. And so they said, well, paint us and we will come. And I said, who will come? Who? And so I started painting these very large beings. They said to me, well, we're called earth messengers. We're being sent by the divine. And that really is kind of the launch of Joan of Angels. When I came to the desert, where I was told that I should come to the desert so I could increase my connection to Spirit. And I listened. I came to the desert and I met this beautiful woman and she looks at me and she says, what was your name again? And I said, I'm Joan. And she went, oh, I know who you are. You're Joan of
Angels.
Like I kind of heard Ark, because I'd been a Joan of Arc fan here. But yeah, so that's how I began. And that's what I teach. I teach how to step into who you really are. It's been quite a process to be able to state with confidence I'm Joan of Angels and know that I'm actually the only Joan of Angels on the planet and know that I'm here to help people remember who they are, why they're here, and how to do what they do best on the planet.
I have a couple of your paintings that I took a copy from their website just to show, and I'd like to just share those. And it's only 4 of them, but we'll just go through and you could just tell us a little bit about the ones that I selected. How's that sound?
I love it. I love it, Steve. Yes.
Let's do it. All right. All righty. There we go. So this is the first one, and it's called the Angel in Harmony. Angel in Harmony.
Angel of Harmony.
Angel of Harmony.
Angel of Harmony and Balance. Yes, she came to me. Oh my God. So much of the art, when you are, it's known as oracle art. When you put it in your home or your wall, these beings can actually connect with you in a very deep and meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
And so she brings you a feeling of balance, peace, joy, a sense of, so she's telling me that she's just like this perfect corona calmness, that meditative state that nothing in that outside world can move us. So.
Was this one of the original paintings from the first 33 days, or are these angels or these art paintings since then?
Well, so you created a random collection, but they all have their own story, actually.
Okay.
The third one down with the blue over there.
Yeah,
and
here
that's
we go.
so funny. Is she the one in my living? Is she in my living room right now? No. Where is she?
This is called Divine Mother.
Yes, and I still have this one. She's one of the original Earth messengers.
Uh-huh.
And so you have to imagine she's very large. She's one, so I started painting these very when when you close your eyes or at night, if you have candles going, she literally sparkles at you. Her eyes become very powerful. It's like she sees into your soul. She's divine compassion. She's the divine mother, healing, trusting in your own self, and oh God, and forgiveness. She is really the goddess of forgiveness. The divine mother sees it all and forgives every side of us because she knows our heart. So she brings tremendous messages to people. And if you're interested in the art, guys, reach out and I can actually personally show you some more art. But so that's who she is. All right. Now the one below her, I just want to show her, and then we'll end up with the one on top.
Yep. The miracle carpet.
Okay. So when you go down there, oh my God. So, and it's true. I only paint when I receive inspiration. Mm-hmm. So, and I receive inspiration from many things. So right now I'm inspired to create my classes. And so I get messages all the time, but I write them out now and I create around that in a different way. But when I'm in this other creative mode, they will like shake me to my core and send me images and send me off to the studio. I went to the Shakti Fest, which is a yoga festival that happens twice a year, the Shakti and Bhakti. And I was in my very first breathwork and sound healing class, laying on the floor with like hundreds of people. We're all breathing and listening to jungle drumming. And suddenly, quite profound, this far away from my face is Krishna. Okay? I like opened my eyes to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Well, I guess I was, but you know, he was just far away. And so, and I, of course, I was surrounded by art about, you know, Krishna and all of the beings with Krishna. So I came home, and for 3 weeks, I could not leave my house. All I could do was paint these paintings of how I was feeling. And Krishna coming to me, he's on his magic carpet, spreading miracles and joy around the world. So that's how that was created. But the funny part about the story is that a few months later, a friend of mine comes. She's speaking at this conference, Contact in the Desert, a UFO conference. She comes and she walks in my front door. She hasn't seen me for years. She'd only heard about my art, you know. Mm-hmm. She knocks on the door. Joni, I'm here. And I open the door. She walks in and she's very loud. She goes, Joni, did you know Krishna's here? He's like right here at the front door. Oh my God. Seriously. So they're actually living energies that can be experienced. So that is this painting. And I still have this painting too. It's, by the way, 30. And this is one of the largest paintings I ever did in my entire life, 40 inches by 40 inches.
Okay.
So, and I can't really paint, Steve. So I want to tell you that I really wait for spirit to move me, because I sit back after and I went, wait, how are you kidding? I did that? No, I'm a paintbrush.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the one above. Oh my God. The one above.
This is the one that we have, correct?
Yes, that's my fairy painting.
Yeah.
And she was done. These were done on a hot summer day in my garden is what really prompted it, where I just got these little flashes of light and sound, and that's kind of how that went. And so I love this one.
I picked that one because it was a little different than the others, but also it had expect a miracle on it. And, you know, you are also a miracle maker. And we know a little bit about that. So I'd love to kind of dig into that miracle maker idea, because I think that's fascinating. So anyway, I just think it's great that you've done this. Angels, now we know why you are Joan of Angels. I heard you say that it wasn't a name that you were 100% comfortable with just, you know, putting on yourself, but the angels came to you, and now you are Joan of Angels. So thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah.
I resonate that. I want to acknowledge a really strong collector of mine is Margaret, by the way. And she just commented that she has a lot of my art, and she does. She has a beautiful home up in the lake up here. With I walked in there once. She had so much art already, and then there was all my art. She must have had about 4 or 5 major pieces, and she has some with her now. So Margaret, I love you. You can come collect any time. These paintings bring a high vibrational frequency to your heart, to your home. It's like saging. All right. I have a friend here in the desert who has about 6 of the big ones, the earth messengers, all under one roof. And it's like when I walk in the house, you can literally hear them. They just light up the day. Okay. So I did want to say that.
And Margaret says, I have a Joan sanctuary in my home in California, and the first piece I brought here with me in Wyoming. So Margaret, you are not only a fan, but you are bringing the angels with you, whether you're in California or Wyoming or wherever you travel. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I want to point out that this is kind of funny. So, I'm teaching a class about the miracle path, and I want to talk about it. But I met Margaret because she was at the Miracle Springs Resort. Everything in my life has a certain synchronicity. I think that's kind of interesting. That's how I met Margaret. She found some art of mine that spoke to her at the Miracle Springs Resort. And now you're showing the Expect a Miracle painting. And that's been my philosophy, guys, that when we could expect either miserable things and negativity, or we could expect positive things. The universe doesn't care actually what we expect. All right. They have no attachment to good, bad, or, they're attached to you getting exactly what you expect. So
in the date, October 31st, 2013, it struck me because it was in early December, probably or maybe it was in November. I can't remember, but it was November or December of 2013. So just a month after, your experience, I ended up going back and being involved in a weekend seminar that I had originally attended in 2009. And that started me on my entire journey of spiritual awakening and transformation in my own life. And what happened was when I went back at that time and did it, there were several pieces that I had come to understand, but I didn't see how they all fit together in my life. I had done like a lot of introspective work over this 4-year period. And when I went back and repeated it in that November of 2013, so same time you had your inspiration, I had this aha moment that everything made sense and everything kind of shifted after that. And some work that I did in 2014 said, help me define beliefs. And the beliefs were there are no coincidences and we are all connected. So that whole vibrational energy of coincidences and energy and connection all made sense to me in a way that it never made sense before. So
I love that. And, we go through cycles of time. And right now we're back in that cycle. Okay. Yeah. 2020, we're very rapidly approaching time that's very pivotal for everyone. And each person has a moment where they can shift into their dream, into what they want. And that's actually why I've created this program called the Miracle Path. Well, I don't create anything. I really need to reframe that. I just get told what to do from spirit. And I've learned that I should say yes and not even question it anymore. But I want to tell people about this because it's important. You're talking about synchronicities and good things happening for you. And so when we clear our field and we do things like expect miracles or say yes to the messages we get or the awakenings we get, then we have an opportunity to really start to attract to us more of what we want. When we focus our intention, when we make that commitment, because the people listening to you, Steve, and who listen to me, they all have a sense of mission or a sense of what am I here to do? And how am I here to do it? How can I make a difference? But life is so hard sometimes here or busy that we can't hear You know, so your angels are going, hello, Steve. You are a creative, honey. When will you hear that? You know, and they're trying to get these messages to us, and we're so busy. You know, we're just so busy. My gardener is very busy out here, too.
I can hear him working, doing very workmanlike work.
We may be moving to the other side of the house in a second. Got to be flexible. All right, we're going to take you for a little walk.
All right. Our angels are guiding us to a different portion of the house at this point. I love it. And we're seeing some of your artwork on the wall, so this is great.
Yeah.
All right,
and we're right in front of Archangel Michael, who will like dampen our ears.
All right.
Okay. All right. So you'll just follow me around, guys. Okay. So I'm not even sure what I'm saying at this moment, but yes. So when we clear away what's in our way.
Well, let me stop you and let me kind of reframe what's happening now. So you have joined Spirituality Gone Wild. You have your own. You have your own show on Monday evenings, and it comes at 7 p.m. on the West Coast and 10 p.m. on the East Coast. And I wasn't able to stay awake for the first show, but I did listen the next morning when I kind of woke up and was in my, trance-like. And that was when I got to know a little bit more about, what your show is all about. But tell us your vision for the show. Why did you join Spirituality Gone Wild, and what do you want to accomplish on your show?
You are just the best interviewer. I'm going to come back on the show whether you like it or not. Okay,
okay, but I can't play the song a second time. I mean, I've got rules here I got to follow.
I'm gonna come on. Okay, so a few weeks. So here's the thing. Over the last 5 years, I've been living in the desert. I've created a lot of art, a lot of content. I wasn't so good at marketing. I just wanted to do the content. Honestly, Debbie and I created a deck of oracle cards. I have my books and just so much content. I was listening to a workshop one day, and the teacher starts to talk about the difference between content providers and then those who market or provide the opportunity for other people to get to know these content providers. So it's like, the guy was talking about how content providers need like a container or a place to showcase themselves. And I thought, well, yes, that's what I'm looking for. And then the next day I was like talking to Fleet, who's always on the shows too. And I realized I wanted to talk to Debbie. I was just like, it's time for me to talk to Debbie. She's got what I want. And we're a perfect match because I have so much content. I'm just like, I don't know how I could have ever not thought I was creative. Okay.
Yeah. And we're talking about Debbie Garcia, the founder of Spirituality Gone Wild. And it sounds like you and Debbie have known each other for several years. Is that true?
Well, I met Debbie. I'm the one who first brought her out to the desert here in Palm Springs. Yes. At the very beginning of Spirituality Gone Wild. And she did my cards, here they are. These cards are from messages from the Masters of Miracles.
Okay.
So we took 44 pieces of my art and we created art and messages, and they're all different. And the cards have gone around the world. I just sent a deck to England, and people love them. And they bring messages of hope, miracles, and healing inside, and also the feeling that I can do this. And right now, that's what people need. I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned in my monologue the director of marketing, Kathy, who just said, "Hey, you're very creative," and I needed to hear that message, and that was like when it finally sunk through. And so you're creating products that help people to gain the confidence that they have to become their more authentic self and to step into who they're supposed to be in this time and space.
I'm a natural born teacher. I'm a chiropractor for 40 years, and the word doctor means teacher. And so I always took it literally that my job was to teach people how to balance mind, body, and spirit. And I still do that. It's a mind, body, and spirit alignment on how to clear your field, to turn up your own personal power to do exactly what you came here to do, which is like what I see you're doing, Steve. You cleared away your old persona, that logical mind. You had a direct connection to source, and now you're walking that path. Well, so when I work with people, that's what we do. So the new program, it's a 5-day challenge. You might want to take it. Walk the miracle path. It's so clear how to turn up your light so bright that we can actually be seen. I mean, people need us. People need a sense of hope and inspiration right now that we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it together. Not one soul's going to get lost. We're all going to be able to manage through it, not to be scared. Obviously, there's a whole unraveling because of a destiny of the whole planet that we're a part of, and we were meant to be here. We were meant to be here now. And I think those are messages people need to hear.
It's really an interesting time because all of the things that we took for granted for so many years are suddenly unraveling in a way that change is always going on, but like this is like an acceleration of change where things that we like that we could take for granted, we can no longer take for granted, and people have to trust their own instincts and their own inner connection to make their way through, because there's just not, if you're looking to the outside for the answer, you can't trust the information you're getting anymore. And so only the inside is where the truth lies. And that's that connection to source or to the universe or to the quantum field, however you want to refer to it. So your course, tell us about your course. And what I should say is that on Spirituality Gone Wild, what is happening is Debbie G has created this member site. It's called the Untamed Club. And the Untamed Club is going to be for people who want to get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So people like myself, people like you, Radiance, other co-creators and hosts have been filling up the member site with content. So if you become a member, you will have access to their courses. And then we'll also provide additional trainings and, links to people's websites, because we're all independent creators. And yet we're all teaming together. As you said, you're that content creator, and yet you weren't necessarily the marketer. And so, and Debbie is really Debbie has a nice balance of both of those skills, and her vision for Spirituality Gone Wild is to create a resource center for anybody who's looking for guidance, because there's no one size fits all. We all need to find who resonates with us. And by putting together your course, the Miracle Path, with other people's, course, people can come in and experience like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and figure out what pieces work well for them. And what will be fun about it is that something that will resonate initially with a person, may not be what they need as the next step. And the same thing with like somebody go, oh no, it's not for me. And then, a month later, it is for you. So I just love what Debbie's doing, and I'm honored to be part of it.
Well, it's a channel. It's a place to go where you have lots of opportunities for self-growth. But so when on my program, so I just want to share this with people. When you sign up to the membership site and you go down, you'll see that there's the Miracle Makers Club. Under the Miracle Makers Club, I've posted 30 days of mastermind meditations, activations, and wake-ups, just so you can have kind of a glimpse on how I teach. But the Miracle Path itself is starting on the 15th.
Okay.
And guess what? If you sign up today or this week, whatever, you can. The site is $22, so you get the class, the Miracle Path, for free, the 5-day challenge. So
right.
If you sign up for the challenge, you can only take it if you're a member, but it's a free component of being a member. But even more than that, let me just explain to you. We'll dive into what's your purpose, what's your mission, what do you need to let go of, how do we do that, and how do we create the vision of where you're going, and how do we create the vision of where you're going and you will feel like you're in a jet start, like we've really jump started you. And that's what I love. But when you work with me too, I'm really creating a lot of programs, and I'm going to have some very intimate groups as well, because I'm trained as a group counselor. Actually, I'm a therapist also. So I just love you guys. I just want you to know something. The Miracle Makers Club, you asked why? Well, that's the name of my book, because my kids and I had to formed our Miracle Makers Club to save our life, to connect to, to really remember we could do this. And that's it. You can do it, guys. And that it is what came from spirit for you to do. So it's just a matter about saying yes to who you are. That's what we're going to do on the Miracle Path.
Bettina says that she would love to have Joan.
Yes, reach out to me, honey.
Absolutely. And she says that miracles big and small are happening literally every day. And Margaret also says that it's all by divine design. So we love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the Miracle Path is something that is is a way for you to help get on track. So I love that. I want to sign up. I want to learn it, because you can never have too much clarity about where you're heading in this world.
It's my favorite thing to do. So I wrote my book. My kids and I formed the actual Miracle Makers Club in 1898, but I think those numbers could be wrong. 1998. And then I wrote the book in 2005, when all the dreams we had visioned came true. We won a major lawsuit. We had that house with the swimming pool. All the visions my kids wanted actually came true. We wrote this book. But, life happens. And so when I said to Debbie, well, what should we name the membership site? She said, Joan, that's a no-brainer. The Miracle Makers Club, of course, because now is the time, guys.
Now is the time. And one more comment from Donna. She just says that she loves it. So thank you, Donna.
I really love you, honey.
Good. No, this is great. Well, good. Well, we still have a few more minutes left. Tell us about the show. What is going to happen on your show on Monday nights? What do you envision it being?
Okay, so guys, this is so exciting. I've had a show since 1998, on and off. One of them was called Make Your Miracle Today. I used to interview all these great people, and so I've been just trying to figure out, because I moved away from Miracle Monday, where I was doing a lot of readings. I said, well, what would be of value? So I'm still creating it. But for example, this Monday, and so one of the big parts is that towards the end, we do a major, what I call a miracle activation, where we turn up that tower of miracle power, okay, that we collectively can create, from my sanctuary to your sanctuary, Steve, to London, to India, all around the world, wherever you are, we can do that. So that's one big component of it, because I'm so excited to have people from around the world that we can do it. So, but for instance, this Monday, I have my dear friend Shima Moore, who is an astrologer. She calls herself a curator, and actually, she is one of the founders of the Conscious Life Expo. So she knows everyone who's anyone in this consciousness movement. But she's coming on to talk about how our planets and the moon, she's going to do a monthly moon update, a monthly moon miracle update, a monthly moon miracle manifestation update, the first Monday of every month. So that's happening. And I'm just kind of playing with what delightful people I'm bringing on. And anyway, the truth is, as my sister said, I was pretty entertaining all by myself last week too. So just so you know, an hour with Joan, right, Margaret? You could actually, there's a lot to learn. And I had a psychic tell me one day, a few years ago, that I should be a comedian. And sometimes I think about it. I watch Mrs. Maisel. I think, oh my God, I could be Mrs. Maisel. She could be me. So anyway, so that's what the show is, and I'm developing it now. I think my goal with the show, okay, is to remind everyone that we all have a miracle muscle. It's in here. Sometimes it gets covered over. Listen, life happens. Sometimes we can lose it. But my job, I see, is to help you find that miracle muscle and hear it go ba-boom. Yeah. Ba-boom, and wake up again, because we need you. the planet Earth needs every one of us to sing our song. We won't get out of our conundrum by the logical mind. It's going to take miracles. And if each of us was singing our song, then we'd be in harmony and it would happen like that.
Yeah. That's great. I think it's a perfect time for the message that you're bringing, because people do need hope and encouragement. I started the beginning of the year with one vision, and I was planning to go out on the road, and I'm still planning to go out and do that. But I wasn't really ready to go as it was. And then so COVID didn't necessarily even affect me. And now, but it allowed me to begin and with Spirituality Gone Wild and the morning show, and do it virtually. And it all is working perfect in terms of, how things are unfolding. And of course, now meeting you and all the other wonderful people, it's just, it's just the uplifting of my life. So anyway, I'm just grateful that we had a chance to speak this morning, and for you to share your message, and for, to share your art, and kind of people get to know who you are. And I would love to have you come back, and we could figure out, like, how do you bring a miracle to, the morning show on some kind of a regular basis, or whatever that might be. We don't have to define what that is, but I think that there's something that could be done, and people would benefit from some kind of a regular dose of Joan on the American Gumption morning show. So,
well, first of all, everyone could benefit from a dose of Joan, just so you know, because there's only one of me, one Joan of Angels. But you're reminding me of something. So when you sign up for the group membership program, I'm doing a weekly miracle report. And so every Sunday, I actually do a miracle pulse of the week. And so I'd be happy to show up and...
Oh, I love that.
And do that here. Why not?
And it doesn't have to be like a whole show. It could just be like a segment where you come in and share it. So I love that. And so anyway, in the comments, we posted this link. I want to just make sure that people know it's easy. Click on the link. It'll take you right to the member site where Joan's course is described, and you can learn all about it. And you can become part of the Untamed Club.
And the Miracle Makers Club, you too can become a miracle maker. Listen, I don't know. I live to serve. I live to teach. It's the thing I'm most passionate about. I teach. I teach whether people listen to me or not. I just can't stop myself. So you would help me out, guys, if you came.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. We are just about at the top of the hour. What's your last bit of advice that you or message that you'd like to share with the morning show audience?
All right. We've been talking about turning up your light, turning up your creativity, and turning up your miracle mastery switch. So expect miracles. Repeat after me. I am a magnet for miracles. Come on, Steve.
I am a magnet for miracles. I am a magnet for miracles. I am a magnet for miracles.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. All righty. Well, thank you, Joan. Please come back and visit us again.
I will.
All righty.
Thank you.
Well, that was Joan Hangarter, Joan of Angels, joining us for the first time, but I think she's going to be back again. We'll figure out a way to, just like Brandon comes on Tuesdays and does his simple motivation, we'll have Joan come and give her weekly miracle update, or whatever it turns out to be, whether it's, every few weeks or however we define it. The beautiful thing about Spirituality Gone Wild was when I first met Debbie, I said, well, what should my show be? And she said, well, what do you want it to be? And I remember I basically thought, oh, this is great. I get to define it. And so I went ahead and did it. But then, my analytical mind kicked in and said, well, maybe that's not the right thing it's supposed to be. And so I went back and I told Debbie what I was thinking about, but I qualified it and said, well, maybe that's not the thing that you want to hear. And she goes, hey, this is Spirituality Gone Wild. We don't have any rules here. The only rule is that we are enhancing the human experience for other people. And so I get to do the show that I want to do, and Joan gets to do the show that she wants to do. And she is doing it on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So get to know Joan over the next coming weeks as she rolls out her show and lets it evolve to be what it's supposed to be. All righty, everybody, that's it. I'm going to close out today's show. There will be no live show on Monday. I mentioned at the top of the hour that I occasionally, usually about every other week, I take off on Monday just to give myself a little extra time to do some project work that needs to happen behind the scenes. But I will be live next week, Tuesday through Friday, with guests at least several of those days. So we'll leave it at that. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you next week. And that's a wrap for this week. This was a great week. We had we had David Strickle on Tuesday. We had Joseph Labruto, and now Joan of Angels all host with David Strickle's been here since the beginning, but Joseph and Joan, new host here on Spirituality Gone Wild. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.